Should I wait till 10:30? Hi, my name is Debbie. Welcome to my channel. Hey Jen. Hey Judy. Should I wait? Because I made it 10:30, but then I changed it back to 10 because my appointment was literally not even 5 minutes long. Maybe I should, maybe I should wait. What is Roy Aura? I don't know what they are. They're having a Black Friday sale. I just got an email from them. Roy Aura? Never heard of it. I don't want to just sit here till 10:30 though. But I also don't want people to come in at 10:30 and say, "You said 10:30. You started without me." I could delete this one and start a new one. And see, nobody's here. It says two people. One of them's me. I screwed up again because my tech actually worked right for change. So now I'm sitting here talking to myself because nobody's here. And I don't want to start without them because then they'll be mad because I started without them. So now I don't know what to do. And replay crew is going to look at this and think I'm cray cray. But let's face it, I am cray cray. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. What should I do? What should I do? Should I start? Should I wait? I need to flip a coin. I could use Alexa. Alexa has like a flip a coin thing. I hate Alexa though. I have Alexa for my morning alarm and I wear CPAP. So in the morning when my alarm goes off, I say, Alexa, snooze. And sometimes she understands me and she says, okay, snooze. And then like 9 minutes later or whatever, she'll alarm again. But other times, God knows what she does. Hey, grammar school. I told everybody I was going to start at 10:30 because I had a Zoom doctor's appointment, but it was over so quick I started at 10, but now nobody's here, so I don't know. I don't know if I should start or if I should wait. Oh, I guess I'll go ahead and start. There's always replay.
2290.
Whoa, that was loud.
We are present here in the open courtroom. Present of the court, the clerk, the court reporter, Mr. Lanz is represented by Attorney Jimmy Berry, and the state is represented by Assistant District Attorneys Green and Horowitz. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Great. So, a couple of procedural matters I do have, which I'd like to give you all copies of the verdict form. So, Madam Clerk, if you could hand that to both the state and the defense so that they can review that for the court. Oh, And you'll have a chance to review, but I just want to give you all a copy to review. You keep that copy.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, and yesterday, before we adjourned for the day, the state did rest on their case, and so, Mr. Berry, I will allow the defense to proceed.
Thank you, Judge. I have spoken to Matthew about whether he would wish to testify. It's his wish to not testify. No, the court didn't want to ask him
Yes.
about that, but at this point, he does not want to testify.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Berry. There are a few questions that I would like to ask Mr. Lanz to inquire about his decision on whether he wants to testify or not. And so, Mr. Lanz, if you raise your right hand for the court, please, sir. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony
She's like,
will be
oh God, look at his
shall be the truth,
fingernail.
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Hey, Carla.
Okay, can you put your right hand down for me? Mr. Lanz, do you understand that you have the right to testify, and if you want to testify, that no one can prevent you from doing so?
No comment.
Do you understand that no one can make or compel you to testify? That is, do you understand that you have a right to not testify if you do not want to?
No comment.
Do you understand that you and not your lawyer must personally decide whether you will testify or not?
No comment.
Do you understand that if you do not testify, then upon your request, the court will not
It's a
use
yes or
decision
no
against you?
question.
No comment.
Do you understand that if you choose to testify, you will be examined by your counsel and cross-examined by the assistant district attorney?
No comment.
Do you personally want to testify or not?
No comment.
Attorney Berry, do you stand in your place as an officer of this court, as well as Mr. Lanz's representative, that you have spoken to Mr. Lanz, that you have presented him with the option of whether or not he has the right, or he has the right to testify or not, and all of the issues or concerns with whether he does or does not testify, and also informed him that if he chooses to not testify, then the court will not hold that against him. But if he were to choose to testify, then he would be examined by you as well as the assistant district attorney. Have you spoken with Mr. Lanz and discussed all of this with him?
I have, Judge, and it's his wish not to testify.
All right, thank you. Are there any witnesses that the defense wishes to call?
No, Your Honor.
Okay,
Yes,
all right. Can I have the attorney's approach?
I have never heard a defendant say no comment to that colloquy. Ever. What is with the no comment? They're yes or no questions. And did you see his nails when he held up his, like, he's I mean, yeah, he's scruffy looking. I thought maybe that was a choice, but no, it's just bad hygiene. Cause he's got mental problems. Big time. I don't understand. Do they not have NGRI in Georgia? I don't know what is happening here, but I think that this poor boy, I'm not excusing what he did by any means. Please, I don't want anyone to take it the wrong way and misquote me or anything. I'm not excusing what he did. It's awful, awful what he did. But I honestly believe that this boy has major mental health issues. And that's just by observing him in the court.
All right.
And for anyone that doesn't know, I'm a nurse, so
Are there any other issues or concerns that
I don't want to say, I'm not diagnosing him. I'm just saying, I've seen mental patients. I know what it looks like.
Okay. All right. Having heard the evidence that's been presented here, the court is going to deny the directed verdict if there is enough evidence, at least for the court to consider. and a judgment in each of the counts that have been presented before the court.
I believe this is unnecessary.
Right. So, state, or do you intend to do an open and close, or are you going to waive openings as far as the closing arguments are concerned?
Yes, Your Honor, we will waive the opening and just reserve closing.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Barrett?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'm not going to belabor too much the evidence, but there are some concerns that the defense has, and I'd like to go over those with the court. And I think it's important to let the court know in the statements that Scott and Teresa Lanz made and the telephone calls that the state through the cell reps found. I think it's important to know that Mr. Lanz, Scott Lanz, was residing in Washington because he worked there. I think that was brought out. And he had called his son the night before, calling him.
Incompetent. See, here's the thing I don't get. Sanity, legal insanity, is different than medical insanity. Insanity legally is just, did you know it was right? Do you know the difference between right and wrong? Did you know at the time you committed the crime that it was wrong to do it? Whereas medically, if you're mentally ill, you've got schizophrenia, you're having a break with reality or whatever. Like the standards is different. I don't know if I don't think like incompetent to stand trial, like to help in your own defense with your lawyers and everything. I don't think that is the same. I don't know. I shouldn't say think. I don't know if that is the same as being found insane. It might be, but I don't know because I'm not a lawyer. I'm a nurse. I go by the medical definition of insanity. I don't see him helping his lawyer do anything in any way. And the fact that he's answering no comments to yes or no questions that aren't incriminating him in any way gives me pause too. Like, he's not with it. So, this whole thing, I've never felt this way about a trial before. I don't like it. I really think this kid needs to be more mentally valid and more tests or something. Like, he's not right. I mean, you can tell just by looking at him he's not right. And I don't think he's medicated because I don't think they're allowed to be on medication because, like, when the judge is asking questions to him under oath, he's not allowed to be on medication because they can't answer questions under oath if they're medicated. So, I'm rambling, I know, but I don't like it. It's the nurse in me. I don't like it. He's not well. And I think he had some kind of delusion that made him kill these people. Some type of satanic, demonic delusion that made him kill them. And it's sad and it's wrong what he did, and he needs to be locked up, but he also needs to be treated for whatever mental illness. I'm not saying not to lock him up. Yes, he needs to be locked up. But he needs to be locked up where he can get good mental care. Because there's something not right with this kid.
Matthew indicated that he would be coming home. He did not come home, according to Teresa Lanz. And because of the fact that he didn't come home, like her husband told her that he might,
Sorry,
she
I'm having a
became,
little difficulty hearing you, Mr. Betty.
I'm sorry, what
I'm
I
having a
did.
little difficulty hearing you.
I'll move this over.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Because of the fact that Matthew did not arrive, she became concerned again calling. And because of the fact that he did not respond, she and her daughter both began to call and were not able to get hold of Matthew. I wanted to make it clear that there was nothing said concerning the fact that she believed that he had committed these crimes. She went there because of the fact that she felt that she needed to do a safety check on him. She hadn't been able to get hold of her. So I wanted to make that clear in the beginning. Let's start with the crime scene. When the officers came to the crime scene, the first thing that they noticed, of course, after Mr. Hicks, the father, had noticed the back window being broken out, the officer came, and I remember seeing on the video that he took his baton and broke out a good bit of the window. There was a lot of jagged pieces still in the window.
Yeah, I just looked it up too. It says, yes, Georgia has a not guilty by reason of insanity defense. A person can be found in GRI if they lack the mental capacity to distinguish between right and wrong at the time of the crime. This defense requires that the defendant was suffering from a delusion that overpowered their will to commit the act. The standard in Georgia is that a person must have been unable to tell the difference between right and wrong when they committed the crime. This does not mean that any mental illness is an automatic defense. The mental state must have been severe enough to make the person commit the act as if it were justified by the delusion. And he told them in the interview that he said that it looked demonic. He saw a flickering light and it looked demonic over there. And he couldn't even tell them what happened. And he said he didn't mean to kill them. Like, he didn't even know what he did. So if you don't know what you did, how can you know if it's right or wrong? I'm not saying he's innocent, you guys. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying what I think happened. Yeah, that's what I meant earlier. I'm not eloquent when I try to explain things. I miss just because. I wish I knew what happened to him. I hope he's okay. Because I would say something uneloquently and then he would rephrase it and it would be perfectly what I meant to say. I used to tease him. I was going to start taking him with me everywhere I went because he could always explain what I meant perfectly. I miss him so much. I hope he's okay. But yeah, that's what I meant. Like, I don't know if competent to stand trial and NZRI mean the same thing. But he's not innocent. He did it. He is guilty. But I also think he had some type of delusion that he thought there was something demonic going on in that house. And he thought he was killing demons or killing Satan worshipers or something. He had a delusion. That is classic not guilty by reason of insanity. So when that happens, they still get locked up. They get locked up in a mental hospital and they get treated. And if they get released, if they get well enough to get released, they get released under a very, very strict, it's more strict than parole. They don't just get out to go do whatever they want to do. It's not like, oh, they're well, they get to go. No, it's not. It's even stricter than parole. And they have to live supervised with a family member or in a group home or something like that. And, but a lot of times they stay in the mental institution for the rest of their lives. which is what I
questioned him
think
about
Steve.
the area that he would have to climb through. He said, well, I had on a jacket, so I felt it might be unsafe to try to get him without knocking over the glass. I think that becomes important because you can see the size of Matthew. He would have had to step over that area and not be cut from the glass. Didn't tend to knock out any more of the glass, so it would have been difficult to get in that window without either cutting yourself without breaking some more.
Well, somebody did.
When they
There was
got
no
into
blood on the
weapons,
glass.
the items that were collected were the 3 shell casings. The officers looked for footprints, fingerprints, all manner of trace evidence. None of the trace evidence was found. They didn't find anything that would tie Matthew to being inside that house. As a matter of fact, as the court heard, the shell casings were tested, and there was no DNA of Matthew found on the shell casings. So nothing was found at the scene would tie Matthew to the interior of that scene. As a matter of fact, the only DNA that came off of the shells was the child, Jacob's, which we could see that most of those shell casings were probably moved around by him. We saw in the bathroom that the toilet seat was up. There was some toilet paper on the floor, and it appeared to have other items there. When I asked the officer if it was possible that he could have flushed those shells down the toilet, the officer indicated that that might be possible. Shell casings were never found in Athens or any other place. So as far as count 13, I don't think the state has carried their burden on proving that those shell casings were taken from the home. The next area of concern, of course, is the firearm. It does have Matthew's DNA on it. It's a little confusing, the manner in which the gun came to be in the possession of the father. He indicated to the police that the clip for that gun and the gun itself were in the coat pocket, and they did retrieve it, but there was no testimony that I can remember whether there was a clip inside the gun at the time that it was collected. So I'm not sure whether there was a clip ever found in the gun or not, or whether that clip actually fit into the gun. That becomes important because the state wants to try to tie the clip that they found in Athens that had, I think, 5 shells missing. Of course, Matthew in his statement indicated that he had been to the range and fired the gun, but they did not pinpoint exactly when that would have been or where he had gone to the range. They may have been able to find out had they asked that information, whether in fact he had or not. The bullets were the SIG 9mm. When I asked the officer, he said those were very common for 9mm. The next item that we're concerned about is Detective Smith's testimony about the headlight signatures. He indicated this V signature that he saw. Questioning him about the signature, he did not know what kind of vehicle that Matthew Lanz had. He said, I don't know what kind it was. I was only concerned with whether that particular vehicle fit what I saw on the road. So he was not able to testify that all 2008 Lexus would have that same V signature, or whether there's any other vehicles that might have that V signature. not just that particular, it's not like a fingerprint. It's a V signature from the headlights. But we don't know how many other cars there may be that has that particular type of V. The other area that Detective Smith talked about was the floodlights that he saw coming on and going off. And as he testified, at 9:31, the back floodlights came on. They came on again at 9:55, and again at 10:08. We found through the Celebrex that Ms. Hicks had been on her phone at 9:59, which is about 4 minutes after the back floodlights had come on. We don't know much about those back floodlights because nobody tested to see how long they would stay on or what range they had when they did come on, which is very important because if in fact they are saying that the person went in at 10:08, we don't have anybody coming out after that. If they went in to the house at 9:55, they would have had to have been in the house for 4 minutes in order for the Hicks to use the telephone. So that wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense. So begs the question, did somebody go into the house earlier in the day and was laying in wait for them to get into the house and get comfortable before they made their move? So it's an interesting question, especially the fact that you don't see any corresponding exit floodlights, because any movement either in or out should show. It's interesting also that the car that they are indicating was Matthews passed by a neighbor down the street at 10:11:32, which is about 1.5 minutes from the 10:08 going into the home, which meant that a person would have to get in, knock the window out, step over the gate, which the gate was up, apparently. It was see that the gate was pushed from the living room back rather than being pushed from where the person came in forward to be able to get to where the shots were fired. So how would a person accomplish that, get back out of the house, get to the car in a minute and a half? It's pretty difficult to be able to do that. We know that there was a lot of glass that was knocked out. We asked about the clothing that Matthew had on. There was no glass shards found in any of his clothing. There was no glass shards found in his vehicle. We don't know whether the shoes that he was wearing
I said hi.
was what he was wearing.
Hi, Marty.
The night before. We do know that he had to walk a mile or so, maybe 2, to get to the home in Sandy Springs. He was ultimately arrested. We don't know whether he picked up any glass shards on that trip from where he left his car. And we don't know whether these glass shards would match with the glass, double pane glass that was apparently there at the Hicks home. So there was no comparison of the glass shards to see whether or not they might be similar or the same, or whether it was pieces of glass that came out of a car window on the side of the road. So we don't have any other glass shards that had been found. And the state made a point to indicate that he had put his phone on airplane mode to avoid people knowing where he was. That wasn't done until 10:15. Doesn't make much sense if you don't want people to know where you're going then why not put it on airplane mode when he was going there rather than when he was leaving? Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. What's concerning too is that if you break one of those panes of glass out, obviously, I asked the officer, it's gonna make a lot of noise. They also had a dog that the court heard in the video that went crazy when the officer came in. With the knocking out of the glass and the dog barking and the light coming on, apparently Mr. Hicks didn't have enough time but to stand up, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense either, which might be something to consider, whether somebody could have come into the home at an earlier time and laid in wait. We can simply ask the court to look at all the evidence in the case, and I know the court will, and to evaluate that evidence and testimony, and to render a verdict that speaks the truth. That's all that we can ask. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Attorney Barry. Lydia Green, you may proceed with the state's closing arguments.
Ooh, that sounds good. Ooh.
Your Honor, most Americans these days have iPhones. And one of the reasons that iPhones are so popular is because it has the feature of memories. This is what the memories may have popped up looking like on Amber's phone back in October of 2021. But November 18th of 2021, Tuesday of this past week, 4 years to the day, this is what those memories would look like.
Hey, baby, how are you? Oh, okay, come here. Come here. Hey, come here. Come here. Come here. Hey, how are you? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. I don't play with the kid real quick. Yeah, I'm going to Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come on.
That was the Hicks's home sweet home. The home that they moved into on September 5th, 2021, believing that they were moving into their dream home. This defendant on November 17th of 2021 shattered those dreams and shattered little Jacob's world forever. This is State of Georgia versus Matthew Lanz. Your Honor, we're here before you with 13 counts of this indictment, each of which we will go through. The defendant was charged with malice murder, felony murder, home invasion, aggravated assault, possession of firearm during commission of a felony, cruelty to children in the second degree, and tampering with evidence. But this case is best told by looking at the timeline. So I want to go back through that timeline, starting on November 17th of 2021. We started this trial on November 17th of 2025, 4 years later. If you go back in time, this is what happened on November 17th of 2021. 7:09 p.m., Justin, Amber, and Jacob arrived home. You remember the testimony that Amber had to send her car to a mechanic shop, that Justin picked Amber up, and that Jacob was with them. At 7:09 p.m., this is the last known footage of the three of them alive together. Unknown to Amber and Justin, their killer was en route. By 5:57 p.m., we know the defendant was driving from Athens to the Marietta area or Athens area. We know that because on his phone, there's a 1 minute and 58-second phone call with his father. And if you remember, his father stated to law enforcement that the defendant called him and was at a gas station heading home on November 17th of 2021. At 9:20 p.m., Lanz drives down Verbena in his 2008 Lexus GS and enters his driveway. And here's the video clip showing as his car drives down the street. We know that's his vehicle because of the headlight comparison or the headlight signature. He then pulls down Verbena and enters his driveway, which is also located on Verbena. Now it's very difficult to see in that region, but you'll see some flashing light ever so subtly in that area that's circled in yellow. And that's when his car is pulling into his driveway. And again, we know this because there was two SUVs that followed behind that proceed and pass that camera at 50/50 Verbena. We then know not between 9:31 p.m. and 9:32 p.m., Lanz is walking around the rear and side of the Hicks's residence. We can see that the side floodlights illuminate, and then we can see the infrared camera being illuminated as well as he gets close to that side door. We know at 9:32 p.m. he then proceeds back towards his residence. This is the one camera view that's slightly better, where you actually can see him walking along the roadway back in the direction of his family's home. Between 9:43 and 9:44 p.m., you can again see an individual walking towards the Lanz's property. Now here it's much more difficult to see because of that reflection, but you'll see movement proceed until about this area here, at which point he seems to return back towards his residence. And then at 9:55 p.m., Lanz triggers the side lights again, this time to carry out these executions. You can see movement and shadows reflecting from that light. The floodlights have gone off by 9:59 p.m., indicating that Lanz is now lying in wait in this porch area. But we know that Amber's still alive. We know that at 9:59 and 37 seconds, she loves the comment by her friend, LOL IDKY, but I'm craving it. And she loves the next comment at 9:59 and 40 seconds. Olive Garden it is. At 10:10 p.m., we know that these executions are done. Sometime in that 10-minute window, Lanz executes Amber and Justin, who are completely unaware and defenseless, on their couch in their locked and secured home that they have just purchased 73 days prior. And then he leaves. Just like that. The floodlights come on. He walks towards his residence. And it's over. All with little Jacob alone in his crib. Lanz's vehicle is then captured at 10:11 p.m. As he leaves out Delphinium onto Bell's Ferry, and then he drives all the way back to Athens, an almost 2-hour drive. And during that time, he puts his phone in airplane mode. It is not a coincidence that his phone is in airplane mode in approximately the same amount of time it would have taken for him to get back to his apartment in Athens. He puts his phone in airplane mode at 10:16 p.m., and he takes it off of airplane mode at 12:43 a.m. November 18th of 2021, the day after the murder, 9:34 a.m., this is the call that's made.
For confirm that you guys have called them on their phone, they didn't answer.
We tried to call you multiple times now. My brother's phone rings a few times. We're going to voicemail. My sister-in-law's phone immediately goes to voicemail. According to my mother, they've been off social media for about 12 hours now.
Okay.
That call was placed by Ashley Hicks. They had gone to the residence because it was extremely unusual for Amber to just not show up to work. So unusual that her employer had already called both her father and her father-in-law. Within 10 minutes, police arrive on scene at 9:43 a.m. And of course, immediately upon arriving to the scene, they make entry and they find that Amber and Justin have been executed and they're lying in their blood on the couch. Within 1 hour and 40 minutes of police's initial arrival on scene, before police have even made entry into the home, before police have even confirmed that Amber and Justin are deceased, Scott and Teresa are calling their son. So that 1 hour and 40-minute period is really much shorter because Scott and Teresa wouldn't have known what the police knew immediately, and they certainly wouldn't have known before police ever even made entry into the home or laid eyes on Amber and Justin. So that 1 hour and 40 minutes is probably closer to an hour, perhaps less. And they're immediately calling their son because they know he did it before any details or any facts have been released to the public. That is their first thought. The neighbors are done, our son must have done it. They knew what happened in this case before any law enforcement ever knew they existed. Teresa Lanz is so concerned that she drives all the way to Athens to lay eyes on her son and confront him about these murders.
That's the part
Keep
that
in
makes me
mind,
mad.
it takes almost 2 hours to get to Athens. That first phone call that they make to him is at 11:24 a.m. and within 30 to 45 minutes of that first call, Teresa's already getting in her car. Whatever she had planned for the day, whatever she had going on was not as important as laying eyes on her child, because she knew, as a mother, having motherly instinct, that her son committed these murders. She arrives in Athens at 2:14 p.m. We know this because she tells law enforcement she calls when she gets there. She's banging on the door so hard that this defendant thinks that she might actually break the lock off the door or the chain off the door, because she's that upset and that concerned. Teresa goes in the home and she finds the murder weapon. Now, of course, she doesn't know that's the murder weapon initially, but she sees the gun. She sees it by his bedside table on the floor. She described that there was 2 magazines. She said one was in it, well, not really all the way, but it was hanging out of it, and the other one was next to it. That is how the gun was initially found. Next to his bedside table with 2 magazines, one of which was in the gun. And we know from the evidence in this case that the one in the gun would have been the one with only 12 bullets in it. Ultimately, even though the defendant doesn't want to relinquish his firearm to his family, he does, once his dad gets there. His dad, that had been in D.C., and traveled all the way home and got picked up by his daughter and drove straight from the airport all the way to Athens to be a part of this conversation. His father took the gun but left behind the magazines, which the defendant then tells law enforcement are inside his desk drawer. November 19th of 2021, 32 hours after these murders, at about 7 a.m., perhaps a little bit earlier, he travels back to Atlanta again. He travels back to Atlanta again. This time, he ditches his car around 5665 New Northside Drive, which is in Sandy Springs. And you can see from the map there that this is just off the highway. I mean, this is just coming off the ramp from 285. Now, ultimately, this dispatch about the burglary comes in at 8:45 a.m., so we know that whenever he leaves the car, it's a little bit earlier than this, which is why it was probably a little bit earlier when he left Athens, probably sometime in the 6 o'clock hour. We also know from when the search warrant was executed on his vehicle that there wasn't really any gas in the car at all. In all likelihood, his car ran out of gas. So was this where he was planning to go? We don't know. Or was it that he was taking 285 from 316 to 85 to 285 to 75 to get back to his residence? Or maybe go look at what's going on at the Hicks' residence. We don't know. But certainly this is on the way back towards Ackworth. But he ran out of gas. So he leaves his car, he cuts through the woods, and he ends up in someone else's home at 90 Cameron Glen Drive in Sandy Springs. And that's when the dispatch call was made for Sandy Springs officers to respond, around 8:45 in the morning. By 6 p.m., with the assistance of Sandy Springs, the dominoes then fall into place. The pieces are then put together, and that is when everyone learns that Matthew Lanz was responsible for these 2 murders. Now, there's 2 checklists that I always like to go through in criminal cases, because it really boils down to 2 things. Number 1, were these crimes committed? And number 2, did the defendant do it? Those are the 2 things we're really looking at. And of course, Your Honor knows better than anyone that the state has to prove each element of each offense beyond a reasonable doubt, and we have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this defendant was the one who committed those crimes. So I want to start with the checklist of the crimes themselves, starting with malice murder. Of course, Your Honor knows that the state must prove the defendant caused the death of another person unlawfully and with malice aforethought. Malice aforethought is simply the unlawful intent to kill. So how have we proven malice in this case? How has the state proven that this defendant had an unlawful intent to kill Amber and Justin Hicks?
The thing that bothers me about the whole thing is he seems out of his mind, right? He kills them, drives his car till he runs out of gas, and then breaks into somebody's house. Somebody calls 911. The cops show up. He attacks the cop. Like, he's so out of his mind, he attacks the cop, gets shot, but he had enough of a thought process to put his phone in airplane mode. That's bizarre to me. What the heck?
Of course, we can look at both a deliberate intention to unlawfully take the lives of another, and we can look where there's no significant provocation and all of the circumstances show an abandoned and malignant heart. Your Honor, this is so malicious that we have both types of malice. This is implied malice and this is express malice all day long. Executing a couple who is watching TV in the comfort and safety of their own home is as malicious as it gets. If this here isn't malice, then malice doesn't exist. If that is not malice, malice does not exist. Now, while premeditation is not required, we certainly have it here. Lanz arrived at 9:20 p.m. and he executed Amber and Justin at 10 o'clock. 40 minutes thinking, contemplating, stalking. Count one. Did unlawfully with malice aforethought cause the death of Timothy Hicks, a human being, by shooting Timothy Hicks with a firearm? And count two, did unlawfully with malice aforethought cause the death of Amber Hicks, a human being, by shooting Amber Hicks with a firearm? The malice is there, Your Honor. This is the timeline showing the malice. He arrives at 9:20 p.m. Between 9:31 and 9:32 p.m., he is creeping around the Hicks's back and side yard. Between 9:43 and 9:44, he is again creeping around the Hicks's residence.
That's
at
another thing.
9:55, he makes entry into their backyard and proceeds to sit there and watch at those Christmas lights.
Why didn't his mom do something? The fact that she knew as soon as she heard it, that she knew it was him. And
waiting until the time was right in his mind to break the window and immediately execute them so fast that they didn't even have time to respond. By 10:10, he's leaving the Hicks's residence. 10:11, he heads back to Athens. And 10:16 to 12:43, he has his phone in airplane mode. This is proof of malice. He had so much time to think about what he was going to do, and he still did it. You had 3 9mm casings recovered on scene and 2 projectiles. You have 5 total gunshot wounds. These gunshot wounds are consistent with the 2 of them sitting there on the couch, again in the comfort of their own home, watching TV. And when Justin heard that window smash, he got up and started peering around to see who was breaking into his home. And as he's peering around and looking, he gets shot here in his side, and it comes out his stomach and ultimately hits the ground. He then starts coiling as Matthew Lanz is continuing to approach on him. He gets shot in the right arm and then gets shot in the back of the head right here and crumbles because he would have never moved again. He got up to see what was going on, but he didn't even have a chance. Guns all in their home to defend his baby and to defend his wife, and he didn't even get a chance. And Amber, she certainly didn't get a chance. She still has the blanket tucked under her foot. And you heard the doctor testify that it was consistent with her being crouched like this. The gunshot goes into her forearm, out of her forearm, into her thigh, out of her thigh, and stops at her stomach. And in order to get that headshot, where it has an angle, it has a clear angle, she's probably like this, closing her eyes, not wanting to look. And he just executes her. He shoots both of them in the head. You have 2 projectiles that were found in Justin's body. One from his head, where he had his head turned because he had started to coil, and it stops at the other side of his head. And then one from his chest, because the gunshot wound that went in his right shoulder stopped in the left side of his chest. And you had a projectile in Amber's neck from the shot that went in here and stopped at her neck. He talks about he almost got brainstemmed. Well, he brainstemmed Amber. And I think he wished it worked on him. 5 total projectiles were recovered. We know there were 5 gunshots. He executed them. I mean, he shot them both in their heads in the comfort of their home. And then he kept the gun, he kept the magazine, he kept the rounds, and he just put it in his desk drawer. And was just going to go about his time. He stalked, he waited, he hunted, he drove almost 4 hours total to execute 2 innocent human beings, a mother and a father. That is malice murder. And the state has proven malice murder beyond a reasonable doubt. For felony murder, the state must prove that the defendant caused.
There was something about that house. His brother and before they moved in, the people that lived there before, it was some guy and his fiance. They were constantly harassing them, breaking in and doing all kinds of stuff to them. I expected to see that guy testify, but I don't know. Maybe they didn't mention that because they thought it would be prejudicial. I don't know. But there was something about that house that neither one of the boys liked. I'm still, there's this thing called folie à deux, which is, it's a French phrase which translates to, I think, a madness shared by 2. And it's a real thing, but it's bizarre to me, like how 2 people can share a delusion. And I wonder, yeah, a shared delusion. I wonder if that's what was going on here, because his brother and he both broke into the same house when other people lived there. And then his brother, I guess, took a bus to I don't know the whole story, so I might be getting details wrong, but from what I've heard, he took a bus to the Pentagon and got off the bus and immediately stabbed someone that worked at the Pentagon. Judy probably knows better than me. Judy's my rock because I get things wrong and then she'll jump in and correct me. And then took out a gun and unalived himself. So, which I didn't know. I thought like he was arrested and in jail. I didn't know till the trial started that he had unalived himself. His parents need to move away. Um, so I don't know. I don't. There's some YouTube true crime channels that have done the story on these two brothers, and I want, yeah, yeah, that's why she knew. So, I want to watch some of the true crime. I know that chapter, because after I started the trial, some of them started popping up in my YouTube feed. So I love that chapter. So I know he did it. So I'm gonna watch that when I get time. Like I told Travis yesterday, I don't think I have enough to do. I said I'm glad I'm not sick anymore, but some days I miss just laying in bed and doing nothing. He goes, "Well, it wasn't good for you. I'm glad you're up every day." Yeah, yeah, the Sharon Tate murders. Yeah, he was mad at the person that used to live there. Yeah. Wasn't it one of the Beach Boys or something? Like he wanted them to produce one of his songs or, yeah, mistaken identity. But I don't know because I guess he saw the Christmas tree lights flickering and thought it was demonic activity or something. I don't know if that was the same delusion he had about the people that lived there before or what, but it was something about that house. And when he showed his mom the house where there was satanic activity, was it that house? I missed that. Like, oh yeah, that's right. I haven't done an episode on Charles Manson. I've not done an episode in a long time because I started doing this and now my Monday through Friday, this is all I do. And when I get done, I'm like, nope, I'm done. I don't want to sit here and research stuff. Um, but he pointed out a house to his mom where he thought satanic activity was happening. Was it that house? I don't remember. I just remember that he pointed out some house to his mom.
Of the death of another person by committing a felony. Of course, the underlying felony charges here are home invasion and aggravated assault. For home invasion, as Your Honor knows, the state has to prove the defendant without authority and with the intent to commit a forcible felony therein. Of course, here we're talking about aggravated assault. And while in the possession of a deadly weapon or a firearm, he enters the dwelling house of another while it's occupied by any persons with authority to be present therein. The language of the indictment reads, did unlawfully without authority and with intent to commit the forcible felonies therein, to wit, murder and aggravated assault, while in possession of a firearm, to wit, a handgun, a deadly weapon, enter the dwelling house of another, to wit, the Hicks residence located at 5059 Verbena Drive, Acworth, Georgia, while it was occupied by Timothy Justin Hicks, Amber Hicks, and Jacob Hicks, persons with authority to be present therein. And then the corresponding felony murder count reads, while in the commission of a felony, to wit, home invasion as set forth in count 7 of this indictment, did cause the death of Timothy Hicks, a human being, irrespective of malice. And count 4, while in the commission of a felony, to wit, home invasion as set forth in count 7 of this indictment, did cause the death of Amber Hicks, a human being, irrespective of malice. Your Honor, this is a home invasion. There was forced entry into this home. It was without authority. The defendant was armed with a firearm. We know this because he had a firearm. He killed Justin and Amber with a firearm. He had the intent to commit these forcible felonies of aggravated assault and malice murder because he sat there and thought about it over and over and over until he felt like the time was right. That's exactly what he set out to do. It is exactly what he did do, and then he fled. The state has proven felony murder and home invasion. For aggravated assault, the state must prove that the defendant assaulted another person with a deadly weapon. This defendant shot Amber and Justin multiple times using his Zev Technologies OZ9 firearm. That's an aggravated assault. Count 8 reads, did make an assault upon the person of Timothy Hicks with a firearm, a deadly weapon, to it, a handgun. Count 5 is the corresponding felony murder count while in the commission of a felony, to wit, aggravated assault, as set forth in count 8 of this indictment, did cause the death of Timothy Hicks, a human being, irrespective of malice. Count 9 is the aggravated assault count with respect to Amber Hicks, did make an assault upon the person of Amber Hicks with a firearm, a deadly weapon, to wit, a handgun. And the corresponding felony murder count while in the commission of a felony, to wit, aggravated assault, as set forth in count 9 of this indictment, did cause the death of Amber Hicks, a human being, irrespective of malice. Here is the evidence of the aggravated assault and felony murder. It was his Zevo Z9 firearm, 5 rounds fired into Justin and Amber's body. We have 9 total holes within their bodies. 9 total holes, 5 gunshots, but 9 total holes that this defendant put into their bodies. We've proven aggravated assault and felony murder. Possession of firearm during commission of a felony, as Your Honor knows, the state has to prove the person has on or within arm's reach of his person a firearm during the commission of any crime against or involving the person of another, which is a felony. The way it's charged here, we have murder, aggravated assault, and cruelty to children in the second degree, which are felony crimes. For count 10, did unlawfully have on and within arm's reach of his person a firearm, to wit, a handgun during the commission of murder, home invasion, and aggravated assault, felony crimes involving the person of Timothy Hicks. Count 11, did unlawfully have on and within arm's reach of his person a firearm, to wit, a handgun during the crimes of murder, home invasion, and aggravated assault, felony crimes involving the person of Amber Hicks. Your Honor, you have the gun in front of you. This is the gun that took the lives of Justin and Amber Hicks. It's his gun. He possessed it. He brought it into their home. He is guilty of possession of firearm during commission of a felony. Cruelty to children in the second degree. The state must prove that the defendant caused cruel or excessive mental or physical pain to a child under 18 through criminal negligence. Criminal negligence is an act which shows a willful, wanton, or reckless disregard for the safety of others who might reasonably be expected to be injured by the act. Executing a mother and father in a home that is filled with baby toys, baby gates, baby locks, a baby monitor right next to his mother's hand, and you sit there and you shoot that mother in the head, absolutely shows a willful, wanton, or reckless disregard for the safety of others who might reasonably be expected to be injured by the act. Any human being knows that slaughtering 2 parents in a home with a child creates a reckless disregard for the safety of that child. Your Honor, that is common sense. The way the indictment reads on count 12 is that this defendant did, with criminal negligence, cause Jacob Hicks, a child under the age of 18 years, cruel and excessive physical and mental pain by leaving Jacob Hicks's deceased parents inside the home with said child, resulting in the 2-year-old child being alone and unsupervised for approximately 12 hours, during which Jacob Hicks was unable to feed himself, unable to change his diaper, or get the attention of his parents, causing him excessive physical and mental pain. Your Honor, Jacob cuddled with his dead parents. He cuddled with his dead parents. They were dead in his house. He came down the stairs and he crawled in their laps. We know this because there is blood all over his little Mickey Mouse pajamas. It is on the front, it is on the back, it is under the arms of his shirt. It is impossible to get that amount of blood, and in those locations, without having cuddled and crawled on his parents, desperately trying to get his parents to acknowledge him, not understanding why they wouldn't. He brought his parents toys, trying to get their attention, putting a plane on his daddy's lap, a plane that could not have been there until Jacob came downstairs, bringing his mom a ball, bringing her a monster truck, doing everything he could to get them to wake up and pay attention. Because in a child's eyes, in a 2-year-old's eyes, The world is all about them. And when they wake up in the morning, it's all about them. Let's start the day. The first place any child goes when they wake up is to their mom and dad. That's what Jacob did. And when he couldn't get their attention, he started bringing them toys. He played with the very bullet that robbed him of his mother, that robbed him of his father. Because there is no way that that projectile would have landed there but for Jacob picking it up. How do we know this? We know this because we have 5 projectiles. 3 of them were recovered at the medical examiner's office. So 2 of them were left on scene. One of them, if you recall, was right in between Amber's side and her arm, which was likely that bullet that went through her, well, was the bullet that went through her forearm into her thigh and stopped at her stomach. Because that's the only bullet that didn't remain in her body. The other one went into her head and stopped at her neck. Justin had 2 gunshot wounds, both of which the projectile was still in his body and was recovered by the ME's office. The only other projectile was the one that went in his side, out his stomach, and hit the floorboard right next to Jacob's little fire truck that he was driving around the house that morning. He picked it up and he moved it. He played with it. Why? Because it's shiny and it's new and he's never seen this thing in his house. He was literally playing with the bullet that killed his parents. And carrying glass around the house, because you have a massive shard of glass right next to this projectile, a shard that could have not possibly stayed on the defendant's clothes when he broke through the window, but that Jacob would have picked up and played with. Because once again, in a child's eyes, these are new items in the home that any child wants to explore. He didn't have any way to feed himself. He didn't have any water. He had an extremely soiled and sagging diaper that you can see on all the body camera. And again, the most traumatic of all of this is that there's hours of trying but failing to get the love and attention of his parents. Now, we have no way of knowing what time he may have gone downstairs. We don't know if he woke up after hearing those gunshots and came down the stairs and then cuddled up to sleep on the couch with his parents, or whether he didn't come down until the next morning. But what we do know is the very latest possible time that he was awake and downstairs was 6:16 a.m. We know that because Justin's phone activity sensor log that's been presented as evidence. And we know that the timestamps on that are accurate because if you recall, at 7:07 p.m., there's logged activity from Justin's device, and we see him physically getting out of the vehicle at his residence for the last time. We also know because if you look further back in that data that's been tendered as evidence, you see that Justin was extremely active throughout the day. And you heard from Tim Hicks that he was at home on baby duty that day. It was his day off. Thank God he spent his last day with his baby at home. But we know at 6:16 a.m. Jacob is now touching that phone and carrying it around the house. And I highly doubt that when he came downstairs, the first thing he did was take the phone. This was probably after he had been trying to get his parents' attention and failing. And we also know that Jacob took that phone and moved it around the house because ultimately where it was found was on that baby gate, which had been knocked over by the defendant, happened to be right next to his toy ambulance that Jacob also placed there. He even pulled the glasses off his mom and dad's faces, not understanding why they would not respond. Amber's glasses would not have fallen off her face like this, getting shot in the head. It just wouldn't have happened. And we know she was awake because at 9:59, she's loving comments in her girl's text thread. So it's not like she had fallen asleep and somehow they fell off her face. Jacob climbed on his mom and literally took the glasses off of her face to get her attention. 2-year-old children only care about their parents' attention. It's the only thing in the world that really matters to them. And he was so desperate for attention that he climbed on her lap and is touching her face, desperate for her to open her eyes because of what that defendant did. And then when law enforcement comes in the house, there's Jacob, and he now has his daddy's glasses. And you heard from Tim Hicks that he wore glasses when he watched TV at night, and Jacob has pulled the glasses off his daddy's face too. Even the defendant expressed remorse for this. He didn't care about the fact that Justin and Amber were killed. But when it came to Jacob, and when it came to him believing Amber was pregnant as well, he cared. He cared then, and he recognized that that was messed up. He recognized that that's as cruel gets. And that's the only thing he felt bad about. He himself knows that he is guilty of cruelty to children in the second degree. Finally, tampering with evidence, the state must prove that the defendant, with the intent to prevent the apprehension of himself or obstruct the prosecution of himself, he knowingly conceals physical evidence. Count 13 reads as follows: did knowingly conceal physical evidence, to which shell casings, said evidence involving the prosecution of the offenses of murder, home invasion, and aggravated assault, with intent to prevent the apprehension of and obstruct the prosecution of said accused, to which said accused did remove shell casings from the murder scene, so as to avoid apprehension and otherwise obstruct the prosecution of himself. These officers tore this house apart. I mean, they tore this house apart. They looked in every single nook and cranny. They moved furniture. They moved the rug. They did everything to locate those casings, and they did. There were 3 casings found, and that was it. Now, why he didn't take the time to get the other ones, maybe he got spooked. Maybe the dog started barking at him. Maybe Jacob came downstairs. We don't know. But he decided he needed to get out of there. So he only took the 2. But he is guilty of tampering with evidence. We don't have to prove what he did with those items. We don't have to prove if he threw them out the window or whatever he did with them. So taking a pause here, are the crimes themselves really in dispute? They're not. They're not. I mean, the crimes occurred. We all agree the crimes occurred. Even the defendant agrees the crimes occurred. He said somebody murdered them, obviously. And they're like, okay, well, you murdered him, Mr. Lanz. He goes, I don't know what you want me to say. Whether or not he wants to admit he did it, he recognizes that somebody committed all of these crimes. And so the only real issue is, did this defendant do it? We know the crimes occurred. Did this defendant do it? We told you at the beginning, Your Honor, that there were 3 main pieces of evidence we wanted you to consider. That was the digital evidence, the statements, and the forensic evidence. Now, one thing we do not want you to consider regarding his guilt or innocence of these charges is his brother's past behavior, his own past behavior, or his subsequent behavior. And I want to explain that. Your Honor knows better than anyone that you are here to consider the evidence concerning these crimes in this bill of indictment and not past acts or subsequent acts. The only reason that those instances were even mentioned during this trial is because they were inextricably intertwined with this case itself. The only reason we ended up being able to really solve this case when we solved it is because of Sandy Springs. Because when Sandy Springs conducted their investigation and they realized his parents lived right next to the Hicks's residence where there was an open double homicide investigation taking place, they reached out to Cobb County. You heard during the interviews, everything is inextricably intertwined such that you can't even separate the 2. The only reason that his brother's mentioned is really through the defendant himself. And talking about his brother and talking about the fact that he still thinks that those residents at 5059 were in some way terrorizing him or something along those lines. But we want to make it clear that in no way, shape, or form are we trying to argue propensity or bad character or anything else, because the reality is there is no propensity here. We are not saying there's any form of propensity here at all. These crimes should be considered as an isolated act that happens to be incredibly evil, with the only possible explanation that this defendant provided is those homeowners used to terrorize my brother and there were some demonic lights, which came from this defendant as really the only possible motive, as though he's seeking revenge, although he won't say those words himself. So looking at that timeline, again, we know that it's basically just a 10-minute timeline. We know when Justin, Amber, and Jacob arrived home. We know when the rear floodlights were triggered at 9:55. 4 minutes later, Amber sends her last text ever. The rear floodlights are triggered again, and then the delivery is made. Again, this is the last time. Look at Jacob running in the house, so happy to be home with his mommy and daddy.
Lights. Flickering lights. He saw the Christmas tree lights, and he thought it was demonic.
You have the last two text messages, and this is in UTC, the adjusted time, I believe, is on the exhibits there. And then you have the delivery that's made.
That's what I've been saying.
10:17 p.m. That's a typo there. But at 10:17
I don't know.
You see that notification come through on Justin's watch, which was plugged in his bedside, because it was nighttime.
He's a better lawyer.
TV. And then that package that was never obtained. So we know that whoever triggered the floodlights at 9:55 and 10:10 committed these murders. We know that because there's no way someone broke in after 10:10 and did not trigger those floodlights. There's no way that when text conversation continues with Amber's friends and she's just not responding, there's no activity. Justin's phone never moves again until 6:16 a.m. We know that whoever triggered those floodlights at 9:55 and 10:10 committed these murders. The defendant's vehicle was on scene during the precise window of the murder. How do we know? Because we see his vehicle drive down Verbena. We see that his vehicle is the only one that doesn't actually continue past 5050 Verbena, and instead you see some reflection from where his residence is. We have the headlight signature, which is abundantly clear, particularly in the fleeing the scene immediately after these murders. Watch it again, look at that headlight signature.
What are we listening to?
We have the defendant's firearm. This firearm sitting in front of your honor, which was purchased by the defendant, absolutely, positively executed Justin and Amber. We know that. The test-fired projectiles from the ATF matched the projectiles recovered on scene not the projectiles, the casings. The test-fired casings matched the casings recovered on scene. All right, defendant Lanz purchased this firearm 1 month prior. Okay, he had this gun in his possession 1 month prior on October 13th of 2021. And we know it was Matthew Lanz himself who purchased this firearm because they took a copy of his ID. And we have the receipt. He spent almost $2,000 cash buying this gun that he would then execute 2 innocent people with. All of which was unknown to his parents and against their wishes. You heard Scott Lanz, he did not like guns. Not at all. And when they talked about, well, why did you take that gun from him in Athens? Why were you so concerned? He said to police he was going to shoot himself or someone else. That was this defendant's father's concern. His own father admitted that that was the concern, which is why he took the gun from his son on November 18th of 2021. The magazine that held the bullets that pierced Justin and Amber's body was found in the defendant's possession, in which the defendant admitted these were his. One of those, which again is sitting before your honor, was missing the precise number of bullets used to carry out these executions. A capacity of 17 bullets in each of these magazines. One of them only had 12, which is the exact number used to kill Justin and Amber. And again, Teresa Lanz admitted that when she first arrived in Athens, that magazine was in the gun. Now, she didn't specify how many bullets were in each magazine, but she specified that one magazine was in the gun and one was lying next to it. The defendant has the exact same type of ammunition that was used to kill Justin and Amber in his possession. And that same type of ammunition was found in the magazines. And you had additional ammunition found in the gun box. The gun box that he had shoved into some bag and then shoved into some storage box. But he also had in his possession. The defendant's DNA was found on a murder weapon. We know this, and that's not a surprise. I mean, Scott Lanz said, yes, my son had that gun. Teresa Lanz said, yes, my son had that gun. They took it from his possession. So it's really not shocking that his DNA is on it. He bought it. We know he possessed it. But he also used it to kill Justin and Amber. Look at his clothing. He had glass in his shoes that were collected from Sandy Springs. And again, why is this Sandy Springs thing important when it comes to the clothing? Well, number one, he had just numerous layers of clothing on. And you have those photographed, pants upon pants upon pants, shirt upon shirt upon shirt, multiple layers. He was never going to cut himself, even if he even if he threw himself through that window. He would have never cut himself. Not with the amount of clothing that we know he was wearing 32 hours later. But also important about Sandy Springs is he didn't break glass in that home. There is no broken glass, which makes this shard of glass so important. Had he broken some sort of window or door or lamp or whatever in the home, this would not have been as significant. But there's no glass in Sandy Springs. There's no explanation for why he would have glass shards in his shoes. Another reason that clothing is so important when it comes to Sandy Springs is this lack of GSR evidence. It would have made no difference. Testing his clothes, his hair, his hands, anything would have made no difference because we know he was shot. If he had GSR on his person, on his clothes, on anything,
put it down.
At the point in time that Cobb County learned of him, it would have had zero significance because he had been shot. Which is why it was so important to explain that and explain the sequence of events, to explain this investigation and the findings here. The defendant's cell phone, again, he puts his cell phone into airplane mode as he drove back to Athens. Why? Why do that? Well, the only explanation is because he told his dad, hey dad, I'm coming home. I'm at a gas station. It's 7:57 p.m. and then not showing up. Instead, deciding to execute a mother and father on the couch and then going, I should probably take some steps to cover up. Not only should I take at least the casings I should find, but I should put my phone in airplane mode so they can't get any data off of it. The defendant's statements, he admitted he was on scene that night. That is so, so important. He put himself there. Now, interestingly enough, his timeline that he provides, which is quite precise, is exactly 1 hour off. It's exactly 1 hour off. He says, I got there at 10:30 p.m. and I left at 11:15. Well, no, he got there at 9:20 and left by 10:10. Now, this is November 21st, November 17th of 2021, not long after daylight savings. So I don't know, maybe he hasn't changed his clocks in his car. I don't know. Or maybe he was just being very precise in his timings, but didn't want to give up the fact that he knew exactly when he killed them and needed to adjust his timeline a little bit so it didn't seem like he committed the crime. But either way, it's just so interesting that not only does he put himself there on scene, it's around the right time. And it's for the right amount of time. Because he's ultimately there for 50 minutes. He puts himself there for 45 minutes. Same thing. Now, in his story to police, he says, well, I got so tired when I arrived at my parents' house that I have a key to that I'm just going to drive 2 hours back. I'll take a cat nap in my car for 10 to 15 minutes, then I'll smoke a cigarette, and then I'm just going to drive back because I'm exhausted. I mean, that makes no sense. None whatsoever. He then admitted that there was some sort of bad vibe, which is what caused him to drive all the way back to Athens, never telling his parents he was home, never trying to get in the home, never stepping foot inside his home, and then not wanting to tell his parents he had been there either. I mean, keep in mind, the parents go there immediately and they're like, what have you done? And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't kill anyone. I'm here. I'm in Athens, right? But then he tells law enforcement, oh no, I was home for 45 minutes, but I just never went inside. Why lie? When asked, well, if the neighbors were killed, why would they have been killed? He said it probably had something to do with the demonic lights. You heard that interview. You heard the Sandy Springs portion and the Cobb County portion. Because Sandy Springs had already started that conversation. And throughout all of that, he keeps talking about these lights. The flickering lights, the demonic lights. He's fixated on it. And he talks about it over and over. That's the only thing he'll really say as it relates to the Hicks's residence is the lights. Again, the defendant's parents traveled separately an hour and 45 minutes after hearing of Justin and Amber's death. I mean, this was immediate action on the part of his parents, specifically because they wanted to confront him about whether he committed these murders. Scott Lanz said on scene when they went to the Lanz's residence at 600 Delphinium, and they're talking to Scott Lanz outside, right? He tells law enforcement, Teresa called me about what happened here. The first freaking thing for some reason that came to my mind, and then he trails off, and you can't understand the rest of that statement. But you can fill in the blank. Teresa called me about what had happened, and the first freaking thing that came to my mind. That's what this defendant's own father said. And in that same body camera footage, his father says, we tried to have a chat with him, point blank level with us to say, was he involved or was he not? He was very, very, very sketchy. He wouldn't answer. He said, Dad, I didn't murder anybody, but I was not convinced. There was suspicion. His own father did not believe him. During his interview, during Scott Lanz's formal interview with law enforcement, he says if the bullet matches, he's done. Well, the cartridge cases did match. They matched the firearm that Scott Lanz took from him on November 18th of 2021. His parents want to believe that he's sick or mentally ill. You heard his mother say that repeatedly during their interview. Wanting to believe he's insane, and that's reasonable. That is completely reasonable because it is unfathomable to a parent to accept that their child could be so evil. That is unfathomable. But at the end of the day, they still knew what he was capable of and what he did. And Your Honor saw his Google search history. One day before these murders, he is Googling facts about blood and the 10 Commandments. He knows the 10 Commandments. When Detective Jackson asked him about the 9th commandment, he knows. He had been Googling it not 24 hours before. And on October 29th of 2021, he's Googling, do heads really explode as portrayed in Pulp Fiction? Does 308 explode a human head? And then on October 12th of 2021, he is Googling death statistics, total number of fatalities in the United States 2018, mortality in the United States 2019, fast facts from CDC, death and mortality. This was just one day before he bought this gun. One day, and actually it was after he had filled out the 4473. But one day before he became in possession of this firearm that he used to execute a mother and father. So how do we know that this defendant committed all of these crimes beyond a reasonable doubt? It's his vehicle, it's his gun, it's his magazine, it's his ammunition, it's his DNA, it's the demonic lights he keeps talking about. His parents assumed he did it right off the bat. The Freudian slip about the North Face. When they're like, you're probably wearing that same jacket you had on in Sandy Springs because there's some light colored top in the surveillance footage. He goes, oh, no, that's my other North Face. A Freudian slip. He admits being on scene. And then during the transport, he says, I still feel terrible about knowing there was a baby in that woman's body. He's like, is that true? Did she really have a baby in her body? Jacob and this unborn child that law enforcement thought existed at the time was the only thing this defendant cared about. The evidence here is overwhelming. Your Honor, the only demonic thing that night was Matthew Scott Lanz. This defendant acted as only a demon would, breaking into a stranger's home to execute them and leave for no reason. We've spent this week talking about the defendant, talking about his actions, his gun, his ammunition, his DNA, his statements, all of this evidence that proves his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. But I don't want to lose sight of why we are here. And looking at this case from the eyes of Justin and Amber and Jacob. Victims who should be with us today. Victims who should have been able to come to court and tell this court what happened. To tell this court what they experienced and what they felt. But they don't get that opportunity. They don't get that opportunity because this defendant callously and maliciously and cowardly took their lives, but luckily left behind a home that told a story of exactly what Justin and Amber experienced. September 5th, 2021, just one day after Jacob had turned 2, Amber, Justin, and Jacob moved into Amber's dream home. A home that she believed would be their forever home that they could continue growing their family in. and they were happy, and life was good. And what made this home a home to Justin and Amber was 3 things: safety, security, and love. After all, that is what makes a home, and not just a house. Safety, security, and love. And it's why our legislature includes so many protections when you're inside your own home. It is why the phrase sanctity of your own home exists, because homes are meant to be a sacred place. Amber and Justin had this sign in their dining room: "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." A declaration that their home, made up of Amber, Justin, Jacob, and their pets, their dog and their cat, would follow God. Their home was their domestic place of worship, where they would raise their child and nurture him in faith and love and devotion. These are all the efforts they made to protect their home, to protect their place of, their sacred place, their domestic church, putting up all these different surveillance cameras and censored floodlights. And it's a shame that they had only been there for 73 days, so they didn't have a chance to start their subscriptions to save all this video footage. But the sad part of all of that is it wouldn't have changed anything. It would have shown that man's face on them, but that's it. That's it, because they wouldn't have had time to act, because he so quickly broke through that window and executed them. But these are all the measures they took to protect their home. And they did everything to protect their child. Baby gate upon baby gate upon baby gate. A monitor, baby locks on every single door. Because they wanted to create a safe place for Jacob to grow and learn and explore. And what safer place exists in this world than one's own home? Those were all of the efforts they took to protect their baby. And they loved inside that home. They loved, and they loved hard. You see it all over that house. You see Bibles. You see in Justin's chair, he had a cushion that was pictures of him and Amber so happy, and a verse out of Corinthians. You see this love letter that Amber wrote Justin the day before on 11/16 of 2021. I want you to know that you are brilliant. I'm so sorry that this did not work out the way you wanted. I'm confident you will do great next time. Please don't be down on yourself. These things happen. I'm so proud of you. You have to do this for you, not for me, not for Jacob, for you. Remember all the studying, all the quizzes you've had to take. You know this stuff, and you can do this. Find the confidence. There's no reason to be worried or nervous. I have a video for you to watch. Today is cuddle day. Love you so much, wifey. And you look in little Jacob's bookshelf there, and all the books that were in there that you can see based on how they're placed. Oh, the places you'll go, wherever you are, my love will follow. God bless you and good night. These are the books that you can identify from this picture. And I'm sure many of the other ones talk about love and support and raising him in this Christian home filled with love and faith. This was an incredible and perfect family doing everything they could to protect their child, and yet they failed. They failed. And at no fault of their own. As they laid here on this couch for cuddle day, in their dream home, all of their doors locked and secured, the baby monitor on, it wasn't enough. It was not enough. It was not enough to prevent evil that came through that window. Absolutely terrified. Likely frozen in fear, certainly for Amber. Thinking of their sleeping baby who was upstairs and they could do nothing to protect him. Everything they did inside that home was to protect Jacob, and there was nothing they could do. They were unable to go upstairs. They were unable to hug him, grab him, say I love you one last time, shield him from seeing what evil looks like.
All right, lady, you're going a little long here.
Nothing. They literally did not stand a chance. And we know, based on Amber's positioning, she died absolutely terrified, which is the worst feeling in the world, particularly when it's in your own home. As she curled up and shut her eyes and looked the other way. And we know that Justin was probably afraid too, and he was thinking of his baby too, but he was the man of the household who was going to get up and see what was going on, but he didn't even have an opportunity to get past the rudder because of that man. This is what he left in the home. As though things could not have been worse as is right here where it stops, little Jacob came down the stairs to find his parents. And he found them. And he tried to do what they wish they could have done the night prior. Hug him, love him, lay with him. He got to hug his parents and lay on them and talk to them, but with no response. He tried and he tried and he tried, and he even pulled their glasses off of their faces. The most beautiful faces in the world to him, with absolutely no response. Not his mother's warm, loving body, but a cold, stiff body covered in blood.
That was a 1034.
This was one of the books that you see on his bookshelf. And I don't know if it makes it better or worse to think that this is
1149
books that his mom read to him. If someday you're lonely or someday you're sad, just lift up your face, feel the wind in your hair. That's me, my sweet baby. My love is right there. My love will find you wherever you are. It is beyond evil and cruel.
God, look
So
at these people.
Brutal,
You're done.
Was it even brutal? That's what he asked law enforcement. Was it even
You have
brutal?
destroyed the gallery. Stop. Oh
Yes,
my God.
It was as brutal gets.
Look at this gallery.
And if you weren't sure
Stop.
that night, you are now. Because you've seen it in the daylight and in excruciating detail, the damage that you caused. And this little boy, now 6 years old, left without a mom and dad. His last memories, if he even has them, is when he was 2 years old. So he's left with pictures. Pictures, many of which are in the home in which his mommy and his daddy was brutally murdered because of this defendant's choices. Choices that he sat and pondered over for 40 minutes. Your Honor, this case is clear. This defendant is guilty of every single count in this indictment. This defendant really doesn't feel bad for what he did. He doesn't. And he knows what he did. He knows exactly what he did. Which is why he feels like none of this is really necessary. But we are asking Your Honor to reach a just verdict and a just decision, which is exactly what the defense is asking for as well. But the only just and true decision in this case is that this defendant committed all of these crimes beyond a reasonable doubt. And we ask that you make those findings.
I have never seen a prosecutor destroy the gallery like that before. That was the most heartless closing statement.
Before I step off for deliberations, I do want to have the state and defense review the evidence that is available to go back with the court for review. If you all would approach for just one moment.
How long do you think she's going to take? I've never done a bench trial before, so I don't know. I'm sure it'll be less time than a jury would take. Look at all of them. Like, usually the prosecutor wants to cause them the least amount of pain possible. And I've never seen a gallery just break down and sob and sob and sob through an entire... I mean, I was crying at the beginning, and then it just got redundant over and over, and I was like, okay, you're done. Let's go. Get it over with. But like I said, blah, 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 I can talk. I really can. Observing him in court, he's not right. And him talking about the demonic stuff, that's a delusion. But he did stuff that he would have to be in his right mind to do. I'm assuming they're family members, Michelle. I'm trying to remember what his dad looked like. I think that one guy might be his dad, but I don't remember because his dad was one of the very first people to testify. Or no, not his dad. I mean Justin's dad. Justin, yeah, Justin. It's the guy that died. Yeah, Justin's dad. Um, I think that's Justin's dad. And his mom didn't testify, so I don't know if that's his mom or not. I imagine since she's sitting next to him. I think that's Justin's dad. But yeah, he did do like things to cover up his crime. So that means I've never had a delusion, so I don't know if you can come in and out of them. I guess you can have moments of clarity. I don't know. I did have a patient that she was old, well, yeah, nursing home. I worked in a nursing home. Everybody was old. But she was going into dementia. So she would have like
All right, I am going to step off for deliberations. The state and the defense will review the evidence that is allowed for the court to take back for review during deliberations. And Madam Clerk will give it to you for handing to Madam Bailiff to bring back once that's done. All right, so at this time, we will stand in recess for deliberations.
I don't remember what Justin's dad looked like, so I don't remember. I don't know. I don't know if that's Justin's or Matthew. You would think because Matthew's dad would be sitting on the other side. So I had a patient that was going into dementia, and she would have moments of clarity when she would realize she was going crazy, and then she would be frightened. And I have to say that was the most terrifying thing I think I have ever seen in my life. Because she was so scared when she was with it. Because she knew that she wasn't with it at times. She knew that she had moments of not knowing what was going on. And it scared her. And like all my other patients, they were already gone. Not all my patients, but the ones that had dementia, they already had dementia. So she was the only one I ever saw go into dementia. And I thought, oh my, because I always thought, you know, most of them are just like happy go lucky doing their thing. They don't cause any problems for anybody. You just have to keep track of them, because they'll get lost or whatever, or get into something they're not supposed to get into, or it's like babysitting. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. You just have to keep an eye on them because they're like a little kid again. And I very much enjoy taking care of my Alzheimer's patients. Some of the Alzheimer's patients were my favorite patients to take care of. But to watch her go into it and being scared when she was with it because she knew it was happening was the most terrifying thing I think I've ever seen. Yeah, we had yeah, we had some of those too. But for the most part, they were all just really, really just happy, sweet people. They just didn't know what was going on. But a lot of them though could remember stuff that happened a long, 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 long time ago, and they would tell you stories. And sometimes you would think they were making stuff up. Yeah, sometimes the stories were so unbelievable, but they were true. And like, we had one, I'm probably going to get in trouble with YouTube for saying this, but she used to go, she'd bang on the table and she'd go, "That's what Alex liked. That's what Alex liked." We'd be like, "What did Alex like?" "Blowjobs. That's what Alex liked. Blowjobs." Okay, that's TMI. We don't need to know anymore. Yeah, they didn't because they misplaced stuff and they don't realize that they've put something somewhere and forgotten it. So, and especially in a nursing home, they're all the time blaming us for stealing their stuff. We had an enclosed. Our nursing home was supposed to be a hospital, and the funding for the hospital fell through, and they decided to turn it into a nursing home. I don't know how they got the funding for a nursing home. I know. Um, I don't know how they got the funding for the nursing home, but they couldn't get it for the hospital. But anyway, so we had a unit, like an enclosed unit that was supposed to be labor and delivery. Um, but they ended up turning it into an Alzheimer's unit, and they put locks on the door so the Alzheimer's patients couldn't get out. And so we kept them in there. Um, and we had this one guy that he didn't have like organic dementia or Alzheimer's or anything like that. He worked in a factory, and he was in an industrial accident, and something actually crushed his skull, but he didn't die, but it did enough damage to his brain that he was like a kid again. And he never stopped. He just walked constantly. And he would go out the back door because they had like a little enclosed gazebo patio like courtyard thing in the back. So he would go out there, walk around out there, come inside, walk around, go, and he had won this giant lawsuit against the factory, and he was on, I guess, Medicare. And if you have Medicare, you can only make so much money a month or whatever. And because he got this big amount of money, they had, I guess they had to, they couldn't spend the money on him, I guess. So they spent the money, they bought stuff for the nursing home. But it went into the Alzheimer's unit where he lived. So we had like state of the art video equipment and TV and audio equipment and all kinds of movies. And so they were always watching all these like family movies, of course. We didn't have anything, no action movies, R-rated stuff, right? Like Disney movies and Pixar and DreamWorks and but it was so cool. They always spent all of his money, um I mean on him, but like on the books it was for the nursing home. And um if you didn't watch him, if you left the door unlocked or cracked a tiny bit, or if he followed you out and you weren't paying attention and he followed you out, he would get out, and he wasn't trying to escape. He was in constant motion. He would just go out whatever door he could go out just to go. And you could say, Nick, I got a cup of coffee for you, or I got the newspaper, and he'd turn around and come right back. So he wasn't trying to escape. He just was always on the move. But yeah, I very much like taking care of the dementia and the Alzheimer's patients. So but like the ones with the other types of mental illness, they scare me. Actually, we did have one. I've told this story before. We had one dementia patient. The day she came in, we had these great big steel pill crushers. They they opened up and they had like a little well where you put the little medicine cup with the pills, and then there was a piece here that fit down in there. So when you put it back, it would crush the pills, and so you bang, 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 bang until all the pills were crushed, and then you take the cup out, and then you pour it, mix it with applesauce or whatever. So the night this woman came in, so I'm meeting her for the first time. I know very little about her except what I was told in report. This, this, like, this thing had to be at least 3 pounds. Solid steel. So it's sitting on my medicine cart, and I'm getting meds ready. This woman, she was fast too. If my nursing assistants had not been paying attention, I would have ended up in the hospital that night. That woman came up to my cart, grabbed that thing, and came at me with it. Scared the crap out of me. And we Baker acted her that night. We couldn't get anybody to drive her at first. We couldn't find anybody to take her. I'm like, I will drive her. I will drive her myself. So we finally got the cops to come get her and take her. Oh my God. That's the closest I ever come to getting hurt on the job, I think. By a patient was with her. Oh, that's sad. That's sad. Yeah, that is sad. Yeah, after my dad had his stroke, and we think he kept having little mini strokes. Um, he would do my dad never laid a hand on me in anger. Like he spanked me when I was a kid, little kid. But after he had his stroke, he would do things when I go to visit him. He would like pull my hair and tell me he was gonna beat the shit out of me and stuff. And he never once cussed at me ever in my life, or pulled my hair, or laid a hand on me in anger. And I was just like, that's not my dad. That is not my dad. And I couldn't go visit him. I mean, and and like I even used to work at that nursing home. So like the nurses there, they're like, that's not your dad. That's his messed up brain. That's not your dad. That's from the stroke. And I'm like, yeah, I know that. I know that, but it's hard. I can take care of patients like that all day long, but it's different when it's your dad. My dad does not behave like that. My dad has never said words like that to me. He's never laid a hand on me in anger. I can't do this. I can't come in here every day and see him like this. And I had a good relationship with my stepmom until that happened. And then she just was so upset that I didn't go visit him. And she was very passive aggressive. So she wouldn't sit down and talk to me about it. It just destroyed our relationship. So, oh well. And now she's gone. No one even told me she died. She's buried next to my dad. I didn't even get to go to her funeral because nobody even told me she died. Whatever. That's pretty much how my life has gone. Everybody just cuts me off and nobody talks to me. They just, whatever. But what? I bet you want a cookie, don't you? Acting like you're dying, but all you want is a cookie. I got your number. Yeah, I know. Well, I wonder how long she's gonna be. Marty, do you have kids? We're gonna we're gonna have to start calling you Clark Griswold. Where'd it go? There it is. 6 LED trees in your yard. I didn't I didn't think you would be okay. Offspring. I didn't take you for the Christmas spirit type for some reason. Oh, look who came to see me. Oh, come here. Don't tease me like that, Shadow. You're a brat. I don't have any kids. I have 2 ungrateful stepdaughters. See, this is what I do. I bend over backwards for people, and then they don't appreciate me. And then I get mad at myself for going overboard for people. Like, I expect people to appreciate the things I do. I learned the hard way that people don't always appreciate the things you do. Like this one. He doesn't appreciate me, do you, Shadow? I saved your life. Your mom abandoned you. You would have died. You would have starved to death out there in that shed. She just left you. And I saved you. But you like daddy better. Some of Shadow. Shadow, you moved my camera. Now everybody's looking at my chest. My non-ample chest. Our Christmas has changed. Last year I was like, okay, this is our new normal. It was nice. It's not as great as it used to be. Um, when my dad was still alive, well, I guess no, it's not. Um, when my uncle, no, wait, I gotta go way back. My aunt and uncle used to put on a big family Christmas Eve party every year. And as families started dying off, that switched to my other uncle's house. And we did Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve at his house every year. And then after they were gone, um, we would go out to dinner with, I think one year we went out to Thanksgiving dinner with my dad and stepmom. And then we started going over to Travis's ex's house to have Thanksgiving and Christmas with the girls. So we did that every year for a long time while the girls were little. And then we started going over to his mom's house until the year that okay, we went for Thanksgiving. It was to his sister's house. We went to Thanksgiving. Everything was fine. Then we were going to go back for Christmas. Well, for Christmas, they didn't want to have a regular Christmas dinner. They wanted to have brunch. And they were going to have like breakfast and breakfast casseroles and stuff like that. I'm not a big breakfast eater. Unless it's like, um, I like pancakes or waffles or French toast. I rarely eat anything, or I'll like at home I might eat a bowl of oatmeal or something. But like I'm not a big breakfast eater. I was not keen on having like a big brunch casserole buffet thing for Christmas. So I said, "Oh, really? I don't really want that." I said, "How about we go over the day after Christmas and open presents, and then Travis and I can have our Christmas dinner at home." And she was like, "No, that's not gonna work." I was like, "Okay." So Travis and I talked about it, and so I got back with his mom. I said, "Okay, we'll go over there on Christmas." So then he wanted Christmas dinner. He didn't want the brunch casseroles either. So, I made Christmas dinner on Christmas Eve, and I took a picture. I don't know where she is. So I took a picture of Christmas Eve dinner and I posted it on Facebook and I said happy holidays, which I had been doing every single year. And we ate it and we enjoyed it and it was nice. And then Christmas morning we got up, we went to his sister's house. So then his mom gets there. This is his stepmom. And oh yeah, that reminds me of Jill's sister. Jill has the same situation, or not her sister, her sister-in-law. Jill has the same situation going on with her sister-in-law. So we get there, and his mom, his stepmom, is not there. So when she gets there, she goes, "Oh, I saw your post on Facebook. What was that? Was that a last FU to me?" And I said, "No, I would never do something like that as an FU to you. That was what I do every year when I cook holiday dinner." So that ticked me off, but I just let it go. And then somebody got a video recorder out, and I was like, "Oh, you're taking video of this?" Because this was way back before I started streaming and everything, and before I lost the weight. I didn't want to see myself on video, so I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to be videoed." So then I get home, and well, on the way home, I was looking at Facebook, and I had posted earlier, I think the day before, worst Christmas ever. Had nothing to do with them, had nothing to do with the food. It had to do with the girls were grown. I didn't have little girls to buy Christmas for. They used to, on their school break for Christmas, they would come over, spend the whole 2 weeks or whatever it was. We did Christmas Eve together, counting in the New Year together. I bought them games and toys and we played together those 2 weeks, and I don't have kids anymore. I don't have I've got an empty nest now. I didn't have kids to play with at Christmas, and I didn't that's what makes Christmas so much fun, and I didn't have that anymore. And that was the first year that I didn't have a kid Christmas. So I was like, worst Christmas ever. It had nothing to do. So then my husband's stepmom's sister, so my husband's aunt that I've never met, responds to my post, "Oh, you just should be happy that you have people that love you and you got a few presents." And I guess that my husband's stepmom had told her sister about the food situation and she thought that's what it was all about or whatever. And I'm like, and she's like, "They love you so much." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know that they love me. This has nothing to do with them." Basically, mind your own business. I said it as politely as I could. This is just about not having kids for Christmas, and it has nothing to do with my family other than just not having kids for Christmas. So anyway, then the next day, she posts the pictures on Facebook. And there's no pictures of me or Travis. So then I texted her and I said, or no, I didn't text her. I did it in the comments. I said, um, oh, nice pictures. Why are there none of me and Travis? And she said, because you said you didn't want to be on Facebook. I said, no, I didn't say I didn't want to be on Facebook. I said I didn't want to be videoed. And um, then my husband's half sister makes a group on Messenger where she messages me, her mom, Travis, and starts a big stink going over everything I did wrong, all about me, everything I did wrong, including that I didn't invite Travis's kids to my house for the Christmas Eve dinner. How does she even know that? I could have. She didn't even know that. Why will you be alone? That's sad. So then Travis doesn't even text. So I don't know why she sent it to him too. So then I defended myself and I went through all the points that she put in of all the things I had done wrong. And then I said the girls are allowed over here anytime they want to come over here and they know that. And they don't eat. They eat like rolls and Kristen eats ham. They eat mashed potatoes. I think that's it. Seriously, they don't eat. They're very picky eaters. But they're overweight. I don't know how they do it. Anyway, so I say all this to defend myself. And then my mother-in-law, stepmother-in-law, whatever the fudge she is, says, not the drama mama, or something like that. And I said, you want to talk about drama? You're the reason why Travis's real mom is dead. Because she's the mistress that Travis's dad killed his mom for. And she has not talked to me since that day. Oh, well, I take that back. She did talk to me. I apologized, and she talked to me to tell me that she did not forgive me. So now, yeah, it did. So now I have no place to go for the holidays. So last year we went to a restaurant, and then the girls came over and brought us their presents and spent some time with us. And I think we watched a movie on Disney, and we had a nice day. And I was like, well, this is our new normal, and it's fine. It's not what it used to be. Christmas isn't what it used to be, but it's fine. It's still a celebratory day. It's just different now. And when my dad got older, um after our other relatives died, well, actually, my uncle and aunt died after my dad. So I guess we were still going to his house. Yeah, we were. We were still going to my uncle's house for Thanksgiving. Um, a little bit. before we started going to his ex-wife's house. Because I remember we took the girls over there one Thanksgiving. But like, and after my dad died, I remember we used to, because we lived next door, and my stepmom lived here. We would come over here sometimes. Like I would cook and she would cook, and then we would combine. Like I'd bring my stuff over here and we would combine. We would have a meal here. I would bring presents over for her and we'd have a little small get together, just, the three of us. Sometimes the girls would come. So like it's different now. It's smaller. So, but it's like our new normal. So last year I figured this is our new normal and I just kind of have to, I mean, it was nice. It's not the big, great, giant Christmas that I used to have, but hey, Ken. Yeah, I discovered this, um, I discovered this right before I got married because I kept wanting to go to Disney and I didn't have anybody to go to Disney with. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start going by myself. And I did. I got an annual pass and I started going by myself. And I had a great time. Because when you don't have other people to worry about, you can just go and do what you want when you want. And you don't. Because, like, you're like, okay, what do you want to do next? What do you want to do now? Where do you want to eat? It takes up so much time when you're with a group trying to figure out what you want to do next. Aw. I bet it was a good concert though. Um, I think I went to the movies by myself one time, but I was skipping class in college. Hey, did you have a nice nap? I actually got a little worried about you because you weren't bothering me. That seems to be your MO these days. Bother mom. Drive mom crazy. He's mad. What it is he's mad because Belle gets special food now because she's sick, and he gets the regular stuff. And he's just has an attitude because he wants special food too, don't you? And now he's walking away from me. Yeah, I used to cook even when it was just for me and Travis. Because the thing I love about the holidays is leftovers. But since I've had the weight loss surgery, I don't eat as much at a time. And I'm trying to lose weight. I mean, of course, that was the purpose of the weight loss surgery. Um, but I wasn't ready. Like, it's a tool. It's not a magic thing that makes you lose weight, which is what I was told it was a tool, but I still in my head thought it was a magic. I thought it was magic. I thought I was gonna be skinny. Um, so I didn't really try and adhere to the plan as much as I should have. So I lost a little bit of weight, but I didn't lose a lot of weight. And um, I still like cooked a great big giant meal and didn't really change the types of food I ate. I tried a little bit and I wasn't happy. I still wanted to eat stuff I shouldn't be eating. Um, but now I have changed the way I eat. Spikitude. So, now I figure why, yeah, I like having the leftovers, but I can't eat as much anymore, so it'll go for weeks until it's not good. I'm throwing a bunch of stuff away. So, I, dang it, Walmart. This happens every time I order from Walmart. There's stuff that I think I ordered that I didn't get. And I don't know if I just didn't get it or if I thought I ordered it and didn't order it. Because I thought I ordered buttermilk, but I don't remember putting it away. Because Travis has it's Walmart. Travis, there is a pie that his grandmother used to make. It's a buttermilk pie, which I've never heard of a buttermilk pie before. But I found all kinds of recipes for it now that I've looked. But his grandmother made it differently than any recipe I've ever found, and it has coconut like extract, I guess, like vanilla extract, only it's coconut, and it tastes like a coconut cream pie is what it tastes like. Because I was afraid to even taste it the first time because I was like buttermilk pie. I don't. I mean, I like buttermilk, but buttermilk pie, I was like, I don't think so. But it is so good, and um. his ex-wife still makes it and then like makes pies to give as presents to people. So for the longest time, like she gave me the recipe and I could never get it right. And I was like, she did something, she left out an ingredient or a step or something because my pies never turn out as good as hers. I just knew she had sabotaged me. But no, I don't know what I do wrong. I think last year, now we've been married for 18 years, y'all. I think last year was the best pie I'd made. I've been working on this pie for almost 20 years. I can't get it right. Yeah, like I got um frozen waffles and the box is falling apart. I'm like, seriously? They couldn't give me one where the box is not falling apart. Thank God the wrapper is intact on the inside. But still, they had to give me one with a falling apart box. Yeah, that, yeah, I can't, like, the one thing that I miss since my weight loss, because, like, if I want to go out and eat junk, I can, you know? Like, my cousin got the gastric bypass. I got the gastric sleeve. And when you get the gastric bypass, you can't, they reroute your whole inside. And so there are certain things you can't tolerate anymore. She gets nauseous when she eats sugar. I can still eat anything. Nothing like makes me sicker or anything like that. So, because I was like, I'm not going to go my entire life and not be able to go to a birthday party and eat a piece of birthday cake. One piece of birthday cake, you know, how I don't go to birthday parties that often, but if I do, it's not going to kill me. So I didn't want to do that, which in hindsight, I probably should have. I'd probably be skinny by now, but whatever. But the one thing I miss that I cannot do, well, I mean, I can, but I'll either get sick or it'll just be a waste of money, is a buffet. Because, or all you can eat. Anything that's all you can eat is just a waste of money for me because I can't eat. I can't even eat. Like if you go to an all you eat, not like a buffet, but like an all you can eat restaurant and they give you your first plate and then they're like, let us know if you want more or put your order in now when I give you your first plate to get more. I can't even finish the first plate. So, an all you can eat thing like that. In fact, the restaurant we're going to for Thanksgiving, it's $11.99 for a plate, but it's $19.99 for all you can eat. So I'm just gonna get the $11.99. Travis will get the all you can eat, but it'd be a waste of money for me. Oh, he still has hair? Yay! He was worried about his hair. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Did they get it all though? Did he say? If he has to have chemo, he is gonna lose his hair. Yeah, I do that sometimes, even if I'm with other people, because it makes the line shorter. And how long's the ride? Like 2 minutes? So you're separated from your group for like 2 minutes. Man, now I'm sad. I was really hoping it wouldn't be cancer. A lot of people look good bald. I just, he loves his hair, and that was one of the things he was worried about the most was losing his hair. He actually seemed more worried about that than it being cancer. That, with me having had cancer, that is the thing that worries me the most is because my first cancer, both of them were lymphoma. The first one has a cure rate of 80%. I'm cured of that one. The second kind is lymphoma, but it's a different kind of lymphoma. That one does not have a cure rate. That one can lay dormant in your body and come back at any time. So I'm basically a crapshoot. There's no way to know whether or not I'm cured. I had to get a shot once a month. I think it was once a month or every other month for 2 years. I don't remember. It's been so long ago now. And it was to depress my immune system to keep, yeah, that's real smart, Marty. Yeah. Um, um, and that was to keep that bettered the chance of it not coming back. However, it made me so sick that I was in the hospital 8 times over that 2 year period. And I almost died. So my biggest fear is that it comes back and it goes to my brain. Because I don't need anything more wrong with this noggin up here than's already wrong with it. My favorite, well, one of my favorite internet dogs went to see the doggy chiropractor the other day. He couldn't get down the steps on his own. His dad had to help him down the steps. And then he was sitting weird with like a hunch in his back. They took him to the emergency vet and the emergency vet couldn't find anything wrong. So then they took him to the doggy chiropractor and he adjusted him and he was fine. Yep, it could be. It could be. I hope it's wrong. But that's like my when my cancer came back. Actually, they did one extra scan on me that they weren't even required to do. They just did one extra scan. And it so what they do a PET scan. The PET scan is where they put radioactive dye inside of you, and under the scanner it lights up if it hits cancer. So that's probably extremely simplified, but that's the way they explained it to me. So after you get the PET scan so many times and you're cleared, then your insurance only pays for a CT scan. So I had gone down to just getting the CT scans. So they can still see it, but not as good. So my last CT scan, which was, like I said, one extra scan they just threw in there for whatever reason, it came back with cancer. And when they told me, I broke down crying. And she said, "No, don't get upset yet. We're going to do a PET scan and double check it. It could be wrong." And I was like, okay, okay. And then I calmed down, but then they did the PET scan and it came back that, yeah, the cancer was back. Um, but I have a really hard time not getting worked up and waiting for final results. If you give me a preliminary result, I will freak out. I can't wait. I will be freaked out ahead of time for everything. That's just me. But hopefully the full pathology will show negative or benign. Well, y'all, dang it. Come on, Judge. This should not take you that long. You know you done already made up your mind. She's got to write out her little speech or whatever she's got to say to him. I wonder if she's going to do sentencing today, too, or if, because you know he's guilty. I am wondering if they didn't plead NGRI because of his lawyer. Like his lawyer didn't want to do that. Yeah, guys can get breast cancer too. They have breasts that just aren't as big as ours. Well, some guys have breasts as big as ours. Yep, yep. Yeah, my when my lymphoma started, it's funny because my oncologist said I had another head growing right here. But I had been working out. I'd been going to the gym. And my stupid notifications keep covering up my chat. You had to get a mammogram? Are you serious? You- Are you serious? You had to get a mammogram? They hurt like hell, don't they? I'm overdue for mine. I put mine off as long as possible until my doctors are going, Deborah, go get your mammogram. Because when I had radiation, because my lymphoma was under my left armpit. So the direction the radiation came in, it hit my breast. So now I have to get I'm supposed to get mammograms yearly because I could get breast cancer from the radiation. So, but I'm bad because I don't like them. So I only go when they start going, you gotta go. Um, but because it was a lymph node under here. So but it got bigger like on the inside first. So I started getting bigger here. And I have a birth defect. I don't have a pec muscle on this side. So I've got like a sunken spot here. And I had been working out. I've been going to the gym. So I thought like this muscle was like getting big or something. And the reason why I wasn't getting big on this side is because I didn't have that muscle right there. I didn't realize anything was wrong. I was like, okay, this is starting to look kind of weird. But I didn't really think anything of it until I started to have pain. When I started to have pain under here, I thought, oh crap, why is it hurting? And then I felt the lump. I was like, oh my God, do I have breast cancer? What is going on? So I told my doctor, he ordered a mammogram and like a diagnostic one, not just like a rule out normal cancer one. So I had the mammogram and then I had the ultrasound one where they can actually like visualize everything going on. And so the tech got done and then the radiologist came in and he goes, well, I have good news and bad news. I was like, what? He's like, you don't have breast cancer. I was like, oh, good. And he goes, but we don't know what you have. I was like, oh my God. And I freaked out. So then I can't remember if he referred me to the surgeon or back to my doctor, and then my doctor referred me to a surgeon. But then they did the biopsy. Yeah, yeah, those things hurt, man. And then um I can't imagine having one like inside. Well, you got some good friends. You got some good friends. Yeah. I'm glad it wasn't cancer, but yeah, you got some good friends. Um, I can't imagine having one inside pressing on like your internal organs and nerves and stuff. That's got to be awful. Because, like I said, mine was right here, and that's like as outside as you can be, but it was still like through here. And then when they did a bone marrow biopsy to see if it had spread. And the way they had me laying on the table, I was like on my side with my arm behind me like this, but because it had gotten so big under my arm and the way I had to lay with it was excruciatingly painful. And um it was the actual bone marrow biopsy didn't hurt as bad as the way I was laying. And then when the cancer came back and I got the next bone marrow biopsy, I wasn't in pain the second time. Like I didn't even know the cancer had come back the second time. I didn't feel any pain at all from that. I would have never known if they hadn't done that one extra scan that they didn't even have to do. Yeah, mammograms are not fun at all. Yeah, they're. Which reminds me, I guess I need to call and schedule mine. They're horrible, absolutely horrible. Dang it, I upgraded Outlook and now they insist on sending me notifications for every single email I get. And they're covering up my chat. I don't like it. I know, and they have to direct you for like every view. Now stand like this. Now stand like this. Put your arm up here like this. Hold on to this. It's it's awful. And it's embarrassing too. You got this whoever touching your boob. It's like, can you please get off me now? Can I go put some clothes on? It's awful. Come on, Judge. This shouldn't be taking that long. You know he's guilty. Just pretend you're looking at the stuff and sign your thing. We don't even get a verdict clock because it's just the judge. How long has it been? An hour? Yeah, I would have been two. Please tell me you didn't bowl with the arm. It's only been 22 minutes. Please tell me that you didn't bowl with the arm on the affected side. You could have ripped out stitches, your drain tube. You could have done a lot of damage. Marty, the doctor said you could. I want to go bowling. I haven't been bowling in years. Every time I say something about going bowling, Travis is like, yeah, right. You can't even lift the bowling ball. I'm like, yes, I can. Oh, okay. Well, okay. Yeah, how'd you do? After my back surgery, I went to, oh, well, that's a deal. 1.5 hours. Well, she should be back any time now. Um, I had back surgery in 2006. I had a discectomy, which is basically, I mean, they do have to cut you, but then they go into the disc. They don't actually take the disc out. They suck like the jelly stuff out of the disc, and then the disc will repair itself, and then the jelly actually like regenerates inside after the side of the disc heals up. So I had that done in 2006. While I was recuperating, Disney built um, Expedition Everest at Animal Kingdom, and I watched every documentary that they made about it. They had one about the set design, how they went over to Nepal and got things from the villagers, how they traded like American things for things that they had that they could put like in the queue line at the roller coaster. Um, and they did one about the actual coaster, the tracks, the engineering, the cars, how they tested the cars. There was a documentary about the giant animatronic Yeti that they were putting in. It was the biggest animatronic Disney had ever made. which now does not work. Now it doesn't work, and they have a strobe light on it. So the strobe light, it's still, they don't, it works, but if they keep doing it, it causes structure damage. If they continue to use it moving, it will eventually destroy the coaster. It will fall down onto the coaster track. So they stopped its movement and they put a strobe light on it now to make it look scary, even though it's just still. And now we call it Disco Yeti. But I watched every single documentary about its makings that I could get my hands on. Um, and that's all I wanted to do when I got well. And right after I got better and got able to go out and do things, I went to Islands of Adventure with my cousins, and I didn't ride any roller coasters, but I did ride the Spider-Man ride. And I told my neurosurgeon that I did that, and he goes, "Oh, well, if you could handle Spider-Man, you could have handled Hulk easily." And I was like, "Oh, well, I wish I'd known that. I would have ridden." And then after that, I went, not the same day, of course. A couple weeks later, I guess, I went to Animal Kingdom and I rode Everest. So I was maybe 6 months, not even, after back surgery, riding Expedition Everest. And I tell everybody, I rode Everest right after my back surgery. And they're like, what? I'm like, my doctor said I could. But yeah, he okayed it. I could, I mean, Hulk has, I forgot how fast Hulk goes, and it has 7 inversions. And Expedition Everest doesn't even go upside down. And my neurosurgeon said I could have ridden Hulk. So he said I could ride it. um, I think Everest pulls like 2 Gs. Everest is a fun coaster. It's a very fun coaster. So yeah, you can do some things. It depends on your surgery. Depends on what you have done, and you got to make sure that you talk to your doctor, though. I will not advise you to do something that your doctor advises you not to do. Make sure your doctor says it's okay first. And I still, even with my back the way it is now, I mean, I guess I do have some structural damage. I have arthritis, though. I still ride everything. The last time I rode Space Mountain, though, was like, oh my God, I'm too old for Space Mountain. They need to redo Space Mountain. Snitch? She's a snitch. Not that I'm advising you to not notify your doctor if you're going to do something after surgery, but she's a snitch. You should have done that. They're redoing Big Thunder Mountain. It's been, I don't know how long it's been closed. It's supposed to open. I have not done Guardians yet. I haven't been back to Epcot. Have you ridden it? I haven't been back to Epcot since I started going back yet. Oh, okay, Michelle. We're waiting on the judge. No, I've not been back to Epcot. I cannot wait to ride it. I'm so excited. We're going in January, January 24th. I tried to get Travis to go earlier in January because my birthday's the 13th. 2 times in a row? How'd you get on it 2 times in a row? Did you stand in a 50-minute long line twice? It's the only coaster, actually, it's the only coaster I know of that has a backward launch. I was going to say it's the only coaster at Disney with a backward launch, but I don't know of any other coaster that has a backward launch. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't, I, since I have an annual pass, I just cannot see paying extra for a lightning lane. I miss Fast Pass. I don't know why they changed it. That was always my thing. I was always like, Disney's better than Universal because you don't have to pay for Fast Passes. And then they changed it. Now it's Lightning Lane and you have to pay for it. It's $30 for one, but and it's like what is it like $300 at Universal to get the whole thing? But they don't have as many. Like I think at Universal it's every ride though if you buy the whole thing. Oh, like the virtual queue thing, which is hard to get. You gotta constantly mess with the phone and try to get a virtual queue and all that. We rode Slinky Dog when we were at Hollywood Studios, and that was the longest line. Oh my God. I mean, it was worth it, but the ride is over so quick. Rise of the Resistance, the line was long, but I think it was the second ride of the day. I regret that we didn't go there first. We were gonna go there first. Oh, well, that's good. I guess you got there just at the right time. We were gonna go to Rise of the Resistance first. I was like, we got there like rope drop. I was like, I get to rope drop Rise of the Resistance, and I was so excited. And we were going there, and somebody was standing there saying, Rise of the Resistance isn't operating right now. And I was like, oh no. So we went to Star Tours, and then when we went back to Galaxy's Edge, it was open. And I was like, if we had just kept going and go back there to Galaxy's Edge, we would have been first in line probably for when it did open. But I didn't know how long it was going to be, so. But we stood, it was probably the shortest line of the day, other than Star Tours. But a lot of people don't like Star Tours, and I didn't realize that. I love Star Tours. So, so I wanted to go earlier in January because it's my birthday, and I was like, can we go earlier in the month? Why do we have to wait till after I get paid? Why do I have to buy your ticket because it's my birthday? And he goes, because you do. But it's my birthday. Well, you're the one that wants to go, but it's my birthday. Well, you want me to go with you, but it's my birthday. It should be my birthday present. Hey, you go with me, so I shouldn't have to buy your ticket. But you want me to go with you, and it's your birthday, so you should buy my ticket. All right, Travis, we'll go on the 24th after I get paid, and I will buy you ticket. So hopefully, if I can get him out of the house that early, excuse me, if I can get him out of the so I watch Disney live streams, and one of the people that I see in the live streams a lot is a guy named Matthew. He actually works on Guardians. He's one of the engineers. Yep, my earbud died. He is one of the engineers. And so the streamer was in line for Guardians. And Matthew's in the chat and we're talking. And then he got quiet. And yeah, I didn't think anything of it. I'm talking to people and everything. And then Matthew says, "Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. One of the wheels fell off the roller coaster and I had to go fix it." And I said, "Hold up. Wait a minute, Matthew. Are you working on the coaster that he's about to get on?" And he goes, "Yeah." Like, don't do that. Don't say that when we're in line for this ride. Don't tell us you just had to fix something. We don't want to hear that right now. When our friend is about to get on the ride, we don't want to hear that. But he knows all kinds of cool facts about it and stuff and other things around the park. And it's cool to know someone that actually works on like the engineering stuff. Well, yeah, it's fixed. But still, to know that a wheel can come off, I didn't know wheels could come off. I thought it was like clamped on to the track. I didn't know a wheel could come off. That's terrifying. That coaster spins. It's on a track and it spins. No, no, he's good. I guess he's good, or they'd fire him. Yeah, they weren't on it yet. So, but still, if it came off once, it can come off again. Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. You're right. It just startled me a little bit that a wheel can come off. I thought it was like they are. They're designed to fail. Well, okay, okay. Well, that's good to know. I think that's why I like dark roller coasters because I can't see anything. The ones outside where you can see the track and how high they go and everything scare the crap out of me. I don't like those. I like the dark ones. No, I haven't. I haven't. Is there? There's one about an accident that happened on Tower of Terror, but I don't know if that's real or not because I never heard anything about it. Is it on YouTube or is it like an official something? Why, Judy? There's a YouTube thumbnail I keep seeing, and it says the Tower of Terror accident that you've never heard of. And I don't know what it's about, and I'm afraid to click on it because I don't want to know. Oh, okay. I love Tower of Terror. I didn't get to ride it last time because my husband does not like drop tower rides. He says it makes his stomach feel funny. So I've not ridden it since they took out the lap bars and put in the seat belts. So that's a long time ago. But I've always loved it. Have you ridden Tron? I rode Tron for the first time a few weeks ago and I love it. But I didn't ride on the light cycle. I rode in the chariot. Next time I'm gonna ride on the light cycle. If I can get it, I don't even know if I can get in it. I've not even tried. But my friend has a bad back, so she rode in the chariot and I just rode in there with her. You could have ridden in the chariot. I have a friend, that's the friend I was talking about that's a streamer. He's like six. 6'7". I don't know. He's really tall. He can fit in it, but because of the G forces, by the time the ride is over, it jams his legs down into the thing so much that he can't get out. The first time he rode it in the light cycle, and he got stuck. His legs got stuck because they got jammed down in it. So he rides it in the chariot now. The only thing is you have to wait a little bit longer because not every train has a chariot on the back of it. But I rode it, and my friend, because she has a bad back, she can't bend like that to sit in the light cycle. Well, yeah, that's cool too. But yeah, Tron is a blast. It's super short though. Yeah, and it always has a super long line. That one, um, I can't remember how long we waited, but we're on scooters because of my back and my knees, and my friend because of her back, and actually her husband occasionally rents a scooter, um, because they're streamers, so um if they usually spread out. They stream 3 days a week, so they spread it out usually. But if for some reason, if their plans change and they have to do like a couple days in a row, he'll get a scooter too. So all three of us were on scooters that day. And you're not supposed to have a scooter in the line because there's a lot of glass in the line. Just for the Tron effect, because it's glass with like lights through it to make it look like the Tron environment. And so you can't take a scooter in there. You have to have someone push you in a wheelchair. And they didn't have anybody that could, like, her husband was going to get off his scooter and push her in a wheelchair, but then there was me, and they didn't have anybody to come push me. So, um, she got permission to let us go if we put our scooters on the lowest speed. So we got to ride our scooters in the line, which they don't usually allow. So when you're sitting on a scooter in line, in my experience, it does not seem as long if you're standing in a line. So I think it said 50 minutes, but it did not feel that long to me. But it probably was, at least. So it was almost an hour. But it was worth it because that ride, oh man. Test Track, I've not ridden the new one. I missed the second version of Test Track, which everybody said was not as good as the new version. The first one was great. I loved the first one. And the second one they said was more interactive. Like you got to pick like what your car was going to look like or something. I don't know. But everybody says that the new version is much better. So, and I've seen the new version on streams and stuff, and it looks pretty cool. Um, But the outside part is always the same, where you just, drive around the building. I'm excited for Guardians, and what else haven't I ridden? I haven't ridden Frozen, or whatever they call it. Um, it used to be the Maelstrom at Epcot, the Norway ride, but then they changed it to Frozen. And then there's the well, I don't know what that one's called either. The Ratatouille ride in France. I haven't ridden that one either. I think that's everything. And then I'll be. No, Animal Kingdom. I haven't been back to Animal Kingdom either. So, Animal Kingdom, I haven't ridden. I haven't done any of the Pandora rides. So, I haven't done the Navi River or Flight of Passage. And I don't know if I can fit in Flight of Passage either, because it's kind of like the light cycle. It's the same type of a thing where you straddle and you lean forward. it's funny when people are watching the live stream and they're like, shorts and t-shirts in November? We got snow. I'm like, yeah, we have snow too. Look, it's called snow. It's it's snowflakes. See, it's snowing. Yeah, snow on Mickey's head right there. It's called snow. It's snowflake. And if it's any moisture on the ground at all, be very careful when you walk because you will slip and fall. Um, but it's fun. I want to know how they keep the ice skating rink frozen, which I didn't even know they were doing that. That's relatively new. They just started doing that at Hollywood Studios, I guess, several years ago. And they said when they first started doing it, like the first year they did, it was awful. And they're calling it Jollywood. Jollywood Nights, I think, is what they're calling it. Um, and it's weird to me the Hollywood parties that I mean Hollywood, the Christmas parties they do, the Very Merry Christmas Party and um the Jollywood Nights party. They're more expensive than the Halloween party, but I like the Halloween party better because you get all that candy and there's so much more to do. There's people dressed up like the ghosts from the Haunted Mansion are dressed up and walking around, and it's well, my other earbud is dying. It's just so much more fun. But you can't work because of fog? Aren't you like safety people? Shouldn't you be working because there's fog? Aren't you supposed to be helping people drive safely? Wrong ear. Okay, can you hear me? Any day now, Judge. I did not. I had the mic off. You didn't hear anything. I peed. I've been holding it for 2 hours. I did have a Disney streamer forget to turn his mic off when he went to the bathroom once, though. That was pretty funny. Any day now. I'm surprised 5 people are still in here listening to me ramble. That's a good question. No, it's not. Now it is. Wait a minute. Why does it say guilty and it's just a ticker at the bottom? Are you kidding me? What is happening? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. I screwed up again. Yeah. That's hilarious, Marty. Hilarious. Okay, that's a completely different trial.
Of the events when he was taken into custody.
I don't think it was an hour ago. I could have had you. You're right.
Good afternoon again. I am Judge Sonia Brown, the presiding judge for the trial of the state of Georgia versus Matthew Scott Lanz, 22-900-922. We are present here in the open courtroom. Present in the court, the clerk, the court reporter, Mr. Lanz, who is represented by Attorney Jimmy Berry, and the state is represented by Assistant District Attorneys Green and Horowitz. In the Superior Court of Cobb County, state of Georgia, the state of Georgia versus Matthew Scott Lanz, defendant, criminal action, file number 22-900-922. non-jury judgment after bench trial. Defendant having waived his right to trial by jury, the parties having consented to a bench trial before the court, and the bench trial having commenced at November 17th, 2025 at 9 a.m. Now, therefore, after considering the evidence admitted during the bench trial, the parties' arguments, and the applicable law, the court finds as follows. As to count 1, malice murder, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 2, malice murder, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 3, felony murder, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 4, felony murder, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 5, felony murder, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 6, felony murder, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 7, home invasion, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 8, aggravated assault, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 9, aggravated assault, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 10, possession of firearm during commission of a felony, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 11, possession of firearm during commission of a felony, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 12, cruelty to children in the second degree, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. As to count 13, tampering with evidence, the court finds the defendant, Matthew Scott Lanz, guilty. This 20th day of November 2025, signed and affixed with my signature, Judge Sonia N. Brown. Would you all like to take a look at the form?
No, Your Honor.
Right, Madam Clerk, if you would please enter this non-jury judgment after bench trial into the record of the court. Right, I will hear from the state of the defense regarding sentencing.
Your Honor, we get talk, I know that the state has quite a large number of people that want to speak. I think it probably would be wise to start that in the morning. So if we would
Stay.
We don't have any objection to that. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so we will stand in recess until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, in which time both the state and the defense will have an opportunity to present arguments and any statements from any victim impact statements or statements in mitigation on behalf of Mr. Lanz.
Thank you, Judge.
Right, we'll stand in recess until 10 a.m. Oh, 1 minute, please. Court is still in session.
Your Honor, just for the record, and I apologize for not putting this on the record prior, but as for your deliberations, the following exhibits were not provided to Your Honor. That was State's Exhibit 670 in the ATF crime lab report, State's 671, another ATF lab report, State's 917, which was the Google search history, State's 607, which was the ZevTech OZ9 of the defendant's gun. State's Exhibit 468 was not an exhibit. It was never tendered, it wasn't missed, it just was never, that number was never used. And then finally, of course, we did not provide Your Honor with Master Drive A, which contains State's Exhibits 5, 7, 460, 462, 463, 464, 465, 466, 467, 469, 470, 471, 472, 473, 474, 481, 685, and 686. Thank you.
We agree with that, Judge.
Right, all the evidence has been brought and placed back in court.
Thank you so much.
Right, we'll stand in recess.
Ready to go back to jail.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Dennis, we do have a status hearing, well, Floyd, I guess we're not fast, I have a status hearing at 1:30 on a separate case.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll be in the session at 1:30, but it's on a separate case.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, that's it. We've got another one done. So, tomorrow at 8, we will finish up Chandler Halderson, and then at whenever we get done with Chandler Halderson, we will do the sentencing for him. And then next week we will start, what's his name? Robert Bardo. And whatever next week brings. So, I'll see you guys in the morning at 8. Be kind to people, love your family, and Jesus loves you, and so do I. Bye, guys. I'm sorry for the snafu, but I don't think we wasted too much time, and I enjoyed our conversation. So, you guys are all my friends. Thank you all for hanging out with me. Bye. Have a great evening.